So I'm going to be recording all the lectures that we have together. Oh, that just shows that on the screen, huh? That's weird and recursive. There we go. That was meta. I didn't like that at all. I'm going to post all of our lecture videos because I'll be recording. And just so you know, the only people in the video visible right now, the people who sit there and there. So Caitlin and Lauren, yep, are in this video. The rest of you are all free and clear. I'll post lecture slides which are screen reader compatible, and also have alt text if anyone needs like descriptions of images. Lecture videos. For each week, there's a reading discussion forum. I'm not requiring lecture discussion forums right now because we're having lectures in person. And you can ask questions and make comments now in real life. If and when we get moved online, that will change, and there will be a lecture discussion forum too, because my lecture will just be a YouTube video, which is not as fun. So I've already posted this week's lecture slides, which is welcome and syllabus. I'm going to go ahead and show that slideshow. So I'm going to go ahead and move toward the end and go ahead and introduce ourselves. So please call me Stephanie, or Professor if you're really shy and just can't get your brain around Stephanie. I'm not trying to be cool or fun, I know better. I'm a Quaker, and we don't use honorific titles for ourselves. So that's part of my life that I ask you to respect by just calling me by my first name. Or Professor, because that's a job title, not like an honorary title, right? Professor's what I do. Doctor is like just for show. So we don't, that's just for shits and giggles, so we're not going to do that. I went to Agnes Scott College, which is a small liberal arts school, a lot like Birmingham Southern. It's historically a women's college. I went to Georgia State University for my graduate work, where I studied sociology of health and illness with a focus on mental health and mental illness. So most of my research is on mental illness. Most of my research focuses on stress and social support, and how stress makes us sick and social support makes us well. Love really is the answer. Like loving each other and helping each other and being here for each other on an empathetic human level is really a health intervention. Like it's just good policy. I'm also doing research right now on severe mental illness like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, and how those conditions are situated in kind of scientific literature. So an interesting thing you may not know is that schizophrenia and bipolar disorder are generally considered to be kind of organic, meaning they exist in your brain, not in society. And so when we talk about schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, we tend to talk about them in terms of caregiver burden, which means if you're in a relationship with somebody who has schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, it can be really stressful for you. Well, here's something that's missing from that discussion. If I have bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, that's really stressful for me, right? But we don't talk about that as a scientific community, and I think we should. I think we should talk about how mental illness and living with mental illness is very stressful for the person who is mentally ill. So that's something I'm working on, kind of proposing and advocating for within my body of my branch of the scientific community. I also research race and ethnic inequality and economic inequality, which is how I came to be teaching this course with you right now. As a teacher, I have never taught a fully online course before. This course is hybrid for now, but God knows what will happen, right? I rely a lot on interpersonal interaction. I'm a very friendly person and very talky and listening. And so I like to be in person with you in real life. Um, I'm not very visual. I'm a lot more verbal and auditory. Pictures don't really help me. Conversations help me. Um, I am committed to meeting you where you are. We are all coming to this semester and to this course from a variety of different places. So some of us are going to be here. I'm not going to ask you this question because it can single people out and put people on the spot. But some of us are coming to poverty as a subject from a place of privilege, right? A lot of us are coming to this subject having grown up with what we needed, having grown up with the resources required to live a good life. And some of us are coming to the study of poverty from a lived experience, right? Some of us are coming to this study having experienced poverty ourselves and having lived it firsthand. And so some of us may feel put on the spot to discuss that background. And so the first thing I would like to caution you about is that no one is a spokesperson. No one is a spokesperson for a group they belong to. No one is a spokesperson for a background experience or a social location. We are all who we are in this moment. And we're all complex, entire human beings, right? And we're going to respect each other that way. So similarly, I'm committed to meeting you where you are in terms of background. I'm also committed to meeting you where you are academically. Some of us are going to have different challenges with this topic, different challenges with this course, hello, and different challenges with this learning format, right? So some of us are going to be really comfortable learning online. Some of us may even prefer it. Some of us are going to have a lot of discomfort working with community partners and being in a kind of collaborative setting. And that may be intimidating for us, depending on our personalities and our selves. So I'm committed to helping you overcome challenges and achieve goals that you have for you. My goals for you are lined out in the syllabus, right? My goals for what you'll be able to do in this course are very narrow and specific. What I'm more interested in is what you want. What are your goals for you in this learning space? Also, this may not come through because on syllabus day, I tend to be kind of like strict because it's my only chance, right? If I don't like hammer it home in the syllabus that this is how it's going to be, then people walk all over me because I'm very squishy. I'm just a very warm, like happy, caring person, and people can take advantage of that. So the syllabus is the one day I try to be kind of a hard nose, but I'm very friendly and I love to hear from you. It takes me about a day to respond to email unless it's marked urgent because I have a busy and complicated life. I also wanted to share just a little caveat about me as a person. I published my cell phone number in the syllabus. And the reason is that when I'm not on campus, I'm caring for my grandmother who has advanced dementia and is total care, meaning she has to be like turned over in bed for her, right? She has to be spoon-fed. She has to be handed water to drink. She can't do things for herself at all. So I spend about 3 days a week caring for her, mostly weekends, but some like Wednesday, Thursday when I'm not on campus. So I've published my cell phone number, and that's because you can actually call me. Like, please don't be obnoxious about it. I love you, but I sleep, right? I sleep at night. But feel free to like text me if you need me. Texting is better because I can fire it off while she's eating than like an email if you need an urgent response, right? Okay, my pronouns are she, her. That's how I like to be called. Please don't call me ma'am. It goes with the Quaker thing. I'm a woman, I'm not a man. Okay. Um, I want to know about you. I want to know your name and pronouns if you're comfortable sharing that. I want to know your major or special interests. Maybe your major is not where you're at as a person right now. So you can just tell me what your life interest is, right? Um, your learning styles and preferences, or anything else you want to share. You don't have to tell me all of these things, but whatever feels important. Can we start with Caitlin?
Sure. I'm Caitlin. Um, do I have to say my pronouns?
Nobody has to say anything they don't want to say.
I just use she or her.
Okay.
Sociology is my major,
Uh-huh.
so I got to know you a little bit.
That's right.
Um, Learning styles, like anything like competitive or anything toxic going back and forth, interaction.
Great. So you like a lot of reinforcement. That's what I'm hearing. Terrific.
Structures needed.
I hear you. Well, we will work on providing you the kind of structure that you need to succeed here. What about you, Aaliyah?
I'm Aaliyah. Sociology major pronoun she, her. My learning style is basically my physical learning style. I got a year and visual, so and anything else I want to share. I have my own business. I sell swimsuits, so yeah.
I didn't know that about you, Aaliyah. That's really super.
Yeah.
Is that something new?
Yeah.
No. Okay. What? Sorry. That's very exciting. What kind of swimsuits do you make?
Bikini, one pieces, pretty much.
Terrific. That's great.
Do you have like an Etsy or Depop or something?
Oh, what?
Where do you sell your
Oh, it's online. Y'all can go like Instagram and then go to the website and then out there.
Shout out your business name.
Too cheesy swimwear.
Like TOO, too
Yeah.
cheapy? Cute. Okay. Very cute. All right. Yeah, feel free to make a plug for like your artistic or professional life. That's fine. I shouted out my research. That's my nearest thing. AJ.
I'm AJ. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a computer science major, and I'm a very visual learner. That's about it.
That's terrific. Soft spot in my heart for computer science. Yes.
I'm Lauren. I use she, her pronouns. My major is economics.
Mhm.
But I mean, like, I don't want to be an economist or anything. I think it's just like a good general degree for a lot of different avenues. I feel like I tell people that and they think I want to be like corporate, which is not true. And I would say I'm a very visual learner as well. I don't do super well with just like lectures. I
Okay.
learned that last semester.
Okay.
And then, unfortunately, I don't have a business or anything. Or I'll shout it out.
That's okay. It's early days. We'll get there. No telling what's gonna happen. Okay. I think Asia, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Asia. My pronouns are she, they. My major is human rights and creative projects.
Human rights and
Creative projects.
fabulous.
I have that too.
Excellent.
My learning style is pretty different this year.
Okay, well, we are going to have some adventures in learning because I am not very auditory, but we will work on that together. Okay?
Okay. My name is Teresa or Terry. That's my corporate name.
What do you like more?
I like Teresa, but for obvious reasons, I cut it short. But
I like Tarika too.
And so, the pronouns, that's new to me, I'm a little older, so.
That's okay.
Yes, but she, her,
That works.
whatever. My major is sociology. So my interest is working with socioeconomically underserved and underrepresented communities. So I consider myself an activist, not
Mhm.
like a extremely vocal, but my way of activism is to start teaching sociology. I want to be an instructor. Definitely on a collegiate level part-time and hope to start incorporating it into grade school level because we really need an understanding of ourselves. It starts as kids. And this summer has proven that we really need to get it into the grade school level, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's I quit my job in corporate America like a year and a half ago. I went to school to complete my degree. And
Wow.
so I'm transferring in as a senior My learning style, I mean, I guess I can say I just in space. Right now, because I feel like I'm recreating myself and reinventing myself, because I feel like I'm on a wife holiday, I got kids in college holiday.
That's beautiful.
So I just need in person. I need to be around like a younger environment so I can understand like what's going on. Look, while I'm failing as a mom to teenage parent kids, and so but I like in person, but I need to be back in communication because I definitely want to like. I have so much to learn. When I want to start publishing things and teaching, just kind of solidify myself to be a voice
Well,
for people.
we're thrilled to be, I'm speaking for everyone. I'm personally thrilled to be part of your like reinvention journey. This is very exciting. We have people like just starting out, people starting over again. This is super. One thing I loved about teaching at a university instead of a liberal arts college was that we had more people in different stages of their lives who could share different positional experiences and different kind of, not that everyone doesn't have different backgrounds and positions anyway, but they could share some insights from different life stages, and I think that's something rich that we can all benefit from, so I'm thrilled you're here. And again, don't feel like a spokesperson as like a mother of teenagers or like a corporate retiree. That's super. Welcome, Tarika.
Hi, I'm Vari. My pronouns are she, her. I am a theater and sociology double major. Though right now I am looking into taking sociology in one of two directions, either sociolinguistics, which is just fascinating to me, or criminal justice reform.
Very neat.
So those are kind of my two things, I guess. I usually learn best with a combination of visual and auditory learning because if I focus on one or the other, I will lose concentration. So if I have two things, I can kind of zone in a lot better. I don't have a business that I can go by, but
That's okay. That's okay. I don't either. Yes.
Can I stand so I can see everyone?
Yeah, I think that's fine. You just can't leave your spot.
I want to see everyone, but it's really hard when you're here. Anyways, I'm Mooney Emerson. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Spanish major. I'm also interested in human rights and international relations. I'm also primarily a visual learner. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm excited to interact with everyone. So.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
My name is Sean. I'm from Saudi Arabia.
Could you please speak more loudly?
Okay. I'm Sean. I'm from Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an arts major.
Arts?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also I'm a mother. So I have two boys.
Oh, how old are they?
13 and 13 and 17.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have two mothers of teenagers. Excellent. That's great. Welcome. Thank you for sharing. Shams. Yes. Okay.
I'm Natalie. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Spanish and sociology double major. I'm like a visual learner as well.
Okay. Well, we're gonna meet you where you are, just like I said. We're gonna make this happen. Okay. Yes.
I'm Drew. I she, her pronouns. I am a psychology major with probably a sociology and biology double minor. I'm interested probably just in like kind of generic counseling, just kind of ease into it, but might end up exploring more in-depth stuff like working in a hospital, psychiatric ward, probably with young adults and adolescents. There's probably a more technical way to say this, but I learned best
That's lousy.
When it's done, or they won't be snickerdoodles on the load. I use gloves.
Okay, so I'm not gonna repeat that because it sounded surreptitious, but like, okay, that didn't happen. All right, Alexandra.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I go by she, her, hers. I'm a senior history major, but I'm interested in going into social work, so sociology is important to me. And I definitely learn visually, so we'll see.
It's gonna be okay. There will be videos, lecture slides, readings. We're gonna get there. I'm gonna make this happen for you, my visual crew. Okay, in the back, please.
I'm okay with, pronouns are she and her, sociology major,
Okay. All right, I'm alone in this. I'm feeling more and more isolated. We're gonna get there. It's okay. Yeah.
I'm Kaylin. My major is sociology, and we have one more visual learner. Oh, she, her.
Okay. All right. That is terrific. I think that's the most important part of the day is that we get to know each other. I really want to emphasize that more in this course than most because we're going to have to work together as groups, not in class. I've read the rules. But on projects throughout the semester, we're going to have to form teams and do project work together. So I need you all to start from a position of liking and respecting each other. Liking will come with time if you don't know each other yet. But I need you to start from a position of like getting to know each other, respecting each other as human beings, respecting each other as fellow learners, and having really positive attitudes toward one another is very important because sometimes projects become very frustrating. And what I need you to do is see yourselves as a team. So it's never me against him or her. It's always us against the project, right? It's always us against the challenge, us against the obstacle, and never me against them, right? So I want you to start thinking of yourselves and framing yourselves as a team right away. Because we're going to divide ourselves based on interests into two teams of indeterminate sizes. But one thing is for certain, you and at least 3 or 4 of your classmates are going to be a team. So embrace it. Now, that said, I'm a sociologist. I'm well aware of the free rider problem. We will be assessing each other as teammates at the end of the term. And that's not going to be like, you're not grading each other. That's my purview, and I wouldn't put that kind of pressure or hostility on you. I hate grades, and if I could do without them, I would, but they're rules. I'm not that powerful. So what you will be doing is assessing each other's cooperation and like contribution, and basically telling me, did this person do their fair share? Did this person contribute in meaningful ways? And you may find yourself on a team where you're the real expert, and so it may feel like you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And you may find yourself on a team where you are really in a support role. And either of those things is okay. We as a society really emphasize leadership, but every person can't be a leader in every situation, right? Every person can demonstrate leadership qualities, but every person is not leading in every scenario. That would be ridiculous, right? Sometimes the most important thing you can do is say, this is not my wheelhouse, this is not where I'm strongest, how can I support you, right? That's a powerful thing to be able to do, and that contribution will be honored too. So teamwork doesn't have to mean that everyone does the same thing to the same extent. It just means that we have to contribute and support each other. Okay, I'm going to back all the way up now and start here. So you've all read the syllabus already, yes? Pretend you have, if you haven't. If you haven't, you can. We're going to be talking about poverty on a theoretical and policy level. So we're going to start with some theories of poverty, some definitions of poverty, and then we're going to start moving into causes of poverty and poverty policy. So we're going to learn kind of how we think about poverty is actually a much more material question than you might imagine, right? You might think that that's kind of squishy and unimportant, but in fact, how we think about poverty is a massively important question. Because if we think about poverty as something that happens to other people who've done something wrong, where's our motivation to solve it, right? If we think of poverty that happens to all kinds of people because of circumstances and systems they don't control, then we're more likely to react with empathy. If we think about poverty as something that benefits some people at the expense of others, well, now we're getting into activism, right? So I want us to think about how we think about poverty. We're also going to remain very solution focused throughout this course. Part of my pedagogy in sociology is that I am solution focused. There is literally no point in just rehearsing misery, right? It's pointless and harmful to just discuss the fact that bad things happen to people, right? What that does is further marginalize and victimize people who are already experiencing oppression. What we're going to do is talk about causes and solutions, right? We're going to talk about why things are as they are and how we can make things the way we think they should be, right? So this course is going to be solution focused, not a rehearsal of misery. That is what we are going to, very importantly, for your information, we're going to engage in service throughout this course. Service learning is a particular approach to community action, right? It's different from volunteering. We are not going to be volunteering. Volunteering is, has anyone ever volunteered before? What did you do? I want to hear from Drew. What did Drew do when Drew volunteered?
Like the actual act.
Yeah, what were you doing?
I volunteered here at Easy Thanksgiving in my city.
Uh-huh.
I served people, it's just anybody who would like a free meal.
Yeah.
They serve a meal, we have a kids table, coloring, we have entertainment, and I usually host. I usually lead people and I help people meet with this stuff.
That's terrific. Like, volunteering is a great thing to do. Who else has a volunteer experience? Yes, Tarika.
Picked up trash, just went to town with it.
Yeah, picked up trash. That's great. Like, I follow hashtag trash tag.
Hashtags weren't even a thing at the time, but
Right.
That's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah. So what characterizes volunteering from a service learning perspective is that it's an event. You do it one time or a series of times. It is a point in time, right? And it's an action that you take once or recurring, but in a contained way. Service learning is when we partner in a meaningful way with someone who's already taking action in the community. We're not the experts. The community partner is the expert. We meet with someone who is already leading action in our case, we're working with 2 women who are our community partners that I've lined up for us. Reverend Carolyn Foster and Avery Rhodes are our community partners. We'll talk more about their organizations shortly. But these women are already taking action in their communities. They're already leading. They're already doing what needs doing. What we're going to do is partner with them in a way that we will learn from, while also doing something that's of use to them. Right? We're going to do something that will build capacity That means increase their ability to do what they want to do. We're going to contribute in a meaningful way, in a way that builds our expertise by drawing on the knowledge of experts, right? So that's what we're going to do. Did anyone have questions? Okay. Your objectives, these are something I have to write down. I have to have 5 of them. It is a requirement. I have 5 of them, you will notice. But I've already talked to you about what I want us to be able to do in this course, right? So these are your course objectives. These are things that I think at the end of this course you will be able to do. In a way, this is my promise to you, right? This is what I'm going to teach you. This is what you can expect to gain from this course. Required texts. There's only one, but there are a lot of other readings. All the readings are required. If they're listed in the syllabus, I expect them to get done. They should be done before the day they appear in the syllabus. So technically we're having reading discussions on Thursdays because I needed to allot time and space for that. But in reality, I want you to have done the reading by Tuesday's lecture, because if you don't, we won't have a lot to talk about, right? So please have done the readings by the Tuesday that they're listed in the syllabus. Some readings are listed specifically for Thursday. That means we won't be talking about them in class, but there's a spark discussion, right? So they should be completed before the day they appear in the syllabus. This book should be available in the bookstore by now. So, yes?
I was kind of on that thing. Right now, the textbook is on back order in the library.
Oh, great.
So when is the first required reading discussion due? Because I don't have mine yet. I've been waiting on it.
Yeah, what a good question. So it is available online. You can get it on eBay. I've done some research. It's available for between $10 and $30. So you should be able to get it in time. I don't think that there is an ebook available. However, there are PDF versions floating around on the internet that you didn't hear about from me. Okay? Terrific.
I had so many books, but I feel like I paid somewhere between maybe $17 to. Maybe I paid $17 for the Kindle version.
I was unaware of the Kindle version, but that's great news.
And don't be mad at me if I'm wrong. You can talk wrong, but yeah, I believe I paid $17 for the last.
Terrific, thank you. So you should be able to get the book from an alternative source. If you need to get it through the bookstore because of scholarshipping or financial aid, reach out to me and I will help you in the time being. Okay? Grading. The thing most people get really nervous about. And in this class, it creates some kind of special anxiety because we all have a horror of group work. But I want to share with you that life is group work. I want to share with you that the rest of your life is just an extended group work session. Like, everything you do requires some degree of cooperation. And school is really a weird little bubble where you're expected to work as an individual alone in isolation. That's not how the world is, though. Like, that's not how most of what you'll be expected to do after school is going to work. Even in graduate school, that's not how most of it works. So group work matters, and we're going to learn about it in this course, and it's going to be a positive experience. And if it's not feeling like a positive experience for you right now, we will troubleshoot it until it is, right? We will solve that. Because we are smart, capable adults who can overcome interpersonal challenges to make a project successful. I believe in us. You're going to have 2 exams. These are like the least scary tests ever. I don't want to say they're easy because they require some serious thought, but they're really hard to screw up. It's hard to do it wrong. what I'm going to do is provide you with essay questions. I give you 4 of them. I expect you to answer 2 of them on each exam. So each exam, I'll just give you a list of 4 questions. And you'll write 2 essays on either of the topics that you choose, right? And each essay should be about 3 pages long. I expect most things to be like 12-point font, double space typed, right? So like 3 double space pages. So no big deal. And you will just write a persuasive essay on a topic that I've assigned, right? And that you've chosen from a list. They're going to be available online on the Thursday before they're due. And then you'll turn them in on Moodle on Tuesday. So you get like 5 days to complete them. They're no bigs at all. It's just going to be really simple and straightforward. They're not cumulative. So I'm not going to be like, hey, remember in week 1 when you read about this? Write about it. But that said, concepts build on each other. So the second exam will build on things we learned in the first part of the course. I can't help that. Like, I can't disentangle it to that degree, right? So you'll be asked to, I'm not going to pretend you don't know things from before, right? All tests are open books, open notes, open researching, open whatever you need to do to answer them. So the only thing I request, I do want the exams to be an individual effort because I need to gauge what each person is learning from the readings. It's the only part of a course that's going to be really individual. But I need them to be an individual effort for my learning, right? Please reach out to me if you have questions. I'm always happy to talk to you about the test. I'm not going to be like, well, I can't tell you that. That's the answer, right? We'll just have a conversation about the test if you want to, but not with each other, just me. Community project is the bulk of your grade. You're going to do 3 reflective writings, each worth 5%. So that's like 15%, but you can think of each reflective writing as like half a letter grade, right? You're going to do one really early in the semester about kind of how the project is shaping up for you, what you're looking forward to, what you're anticipating. Then you're going to do one in the middle that kind of gauges like, where's my progress so far? How does this relate to what we're learning in class? How is this challenging me and how am I overcoming those challenges? And then we're going to do one that's kind of retrospective, right? What was the project like? What did I learn from the project? How will I use the knowledge I gained in the future? Things like that. So just broad strokes, that's what the reflective writings will be like. They'll be 3 to 5 pages, typed, double-spaced. Again, really no big deal. Midterm presentation is almost like a freebie grade. It's basically a lab day where we're going to have a big teams meeting and we're going to discuss as groups where the project is so far, right? We're going to compare what we've achieved with what we were trying to achieve and figure out where we go from here. So it's going to be a very informal, discussive kind of presentation. I don't expect for you to wear business casual and have a PowerPoint. We're just going to discuss where we've gone so far and where we need to go next. It's a check-in, it's like an accountability checkpoint to make sure the project doesn't get away from us. And then the final product is a little sad for me this year because in service learning, you typically have a community celebration. The final product is usually a party. That's not made up. We actually throw a party with food and everything. This year, we obviously can't really do that. So what we're going to do for our for our final product, it will largely be determined by your community partner exactly what your final product will look like. So you're going to work with your community partner to design your own project. But it's going to you will formally present your final product in about a 10-minute presentation. That's not 10 minutes per person, that's like 10 minutes per team. 20 total minutes of presentation for the whole class. I'm okay with one person who likes to speak publicly doing all the talking, as long as everyone has contributed to what they're talking about, right? I love being the spokesperson. When I do committee service, I always volunteer to give the reports at the faculty meetings, as long as I don't have to file things. So I suck at filing, but I'm really great at public speaking. It's my favorite. So your final product will be just a presentation of what you've done, but it'll also be the thing you've done, right? So it'll be graded. You're going to determine with me how it's graded. So we will literally have a meeting around midterms where we sit down together and say, what is the final product going to look like? What are our goals? What do we think we can achieve? And those goals may be revised during the semester. So basically, I'll compare what you've done to what you said you were going to do and be like, did they do it? And if you did, you get an A. Okay? So you get to tell me what you're going to do, and then I just tell you if you did it. Okay. Participation. Show up on Tuesdays if you can. Do your best. Participate in the Wednesday Teams meetings. So we're going to have Wednesday labs using Microsoft Teams, unless anyone has an accessibility issue with that and needs to use something else. Can anybody think of a problem with Microsoft Teams? If you can, email me or talk to me after class. So we'll have weekly Teams meetings. Several weeks we're going to have guest speakers, mostly our community partners. So how I want you to participate, a week before we have each guest speaker, I will be posting a bio about the guest speaker, and I want maybe an article about their work. I want you to read that or watch a video or interview or whatever, and post questions that you have for them. That's because if our conversation gets stagnant, like if the guest speaker's like, wow, that was all I had to say and I took 20 minutes, now what? I will use your questions to kind of guide the discussion and interview them. You can also ask questions live in person, but sometimes it's easier if you think ahead, right? You have better questions than if you're trying to come up with them on the spot. Post to the weekly discussion forum. So for the weekly discussion forum, there are 3 ways to participate, and I expect you to do 3 of them. That's not to say I expect you to do all of them each week. You can do any combination of the 3 things each week. So the first thing you can do, I will post reading discussion questions you can answer. I will also, you could also generate your own discussion question. The only requirement there is it can't be a 1-word answer. The answer has to be a conversation, right? Or you can respond in a conversational way to each other. So if Vari posts a question and Mary Emerson wants to respond to Vari, Mary Emerson can say, that's a good question, Vari. That makes me think about when we read in Iceland chapter 2 about so-and-so. What do you think the implications are for this, right? So you can respond to each other in a conversational way. You can do any one of those things any number of times, adding up to 3. So if I post 3 discussion questions, you can respond to all 3 of them and you're done. If I post a discussion question, you can learn, respond to one of my questions, respond to a question Caitlin posted, and post your own question. Anything you want as long as it totals 3. And that's really the bulk of your participation grade. Policies, this is where I have to pretend I'm strict. Look, everything is chaos and none of us know what's going to happen. Everything is nuts. but like I understand that because I'm a human being and it's crazy for me too. So I will accept excused absences and late work for just almost any reason at all. Like, honestly, I slept in is not a good reason. I forgot that I was supposed to work that day, and I double booked myself is not a great reason. But like, my kid got sick is a terrific reason. Or like, I was supposed to be on Teams, but my grandmother fell down and I had to help her. Is a really good reason, right? I got coronavirus. Excellent reason for missing. Please, for the love of God, don't show up. I think you're not allowed, right? But also, just don't. Other good reasons include, like, I just couldn't. Sometimes you just can't. And everybody gets like one of those, but nobody gets like two, right? I'm willing to consider almost anything. Just run it by me within 7 calendar days. Notify me early when possible. So if you know that like something is coming up and you know ahead of time you're going to miss class, please tell me ahead of time so I can prepare. Please don't take advantage of this. Like, I respect you and I want to be as flexible as possible because you're all adults. And I ask that you similarly respect me. Every time you turn in, this is not a complaint, just a fact. Every time you turn in late work, it makes my life harder, right? My life is worse every time a student turns in an assignment late. Because it delays me getting feedback on time. Sometimes things get misplaced or miscued. I'm not the most organized person anyway, and it really throws me off. It also makes more work for you. It keeps you from getting feedback on your work in a timely fashion. It causes work to pile up on you. Students who miss a lot of work or turn in a lot of work late tend to do worse. So help me help you and be as proactive as possible. Accessibility. If you have a specific accommodation, please schedule a meeting with me right away to talk about it. Please let me know immediately if something I'm doing is inaccessible to you, whether you have an accommodation or not. I've never taught online before. I don't really know how what I'm trying to do is going to jive with different kinds of accessibility needs. So like, if you can't watch my videos because they don't have closed captioning, I need to know that right away. I don't really understand technology. So if something is just screwed up because I don't understand technology and I'm using it wrong, please help me out. I want to make this as accessible as possible for everybody. If you need assistance getting an accommodation, like you don't have one but you think you need one, that's something I'm enthusiastic about helping you with. Please just let me know, and I will help you get in touch with our Director of Accessibility, and she will walk you all the way through that process. Okay? Changes to the syllabus may become necessary. This is really just a cover my own butt statement. This is just to keep me out of trouble, right? Changes to the syllabus may become necessary. I will notify you of any changes before they take effect. I will post all updates on Moodle before they take effect. And changes will never work against you. So that is, from today forward, I will do nothing that makes the class harder. Changes will all be neutral or work in your favor. Okay? So what I won't do is like add a new graded assignment. What I might do is be like, hey, our guest speaker really wants you to read this article, so I'm going to cut one of my readings and replace it with this one, right? So all changes will be neutral or work in your favor. I could make a deadline later, but I won't make it earlier. That would be mean. And we've talked about this already. What are your questions? We have 30 minutes before we have to leave. You can leave earlier than that, but what are your questions right now? Yes,
So,
Aaliyah.
I think when the email you sent, you have me working on Teams on Thursdays, but on yours says Wednesday. So which one is it that's on?
Oh, geez. Okay. Thanks for helping me. Good catch. Teams meetings will be Wednesdays at 9:30. So when we have our scheduled lab time, we will have a Teams meeting every week. Occasionally, as noted in the syllabus, instead of that, I'll schedule individual meetings with students or with teams, like project teams, to talk about your projects. But assume that every week we have a meeting at 9:30 on Wednesday. Yes.
Sorry, just to clear up one more
You're
time.
okay.
So Tuesdays we're gonna meet at 12:30 to 1:50 here. Wednesday we're gonna do Microsoft Teams, and I guess that's just gonna go to, maybe I've already did that last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thursdays, what?
Thursday is asynchronous on your own. I'm asking a lot of you in terms of reading discussion. It's a pretty challenging assignment for Thursdays, so I'm just giving you the whole time to work on that. On Moodle. Yep, catch up with your readings, participate in the discussion forum, you're all done. Yes?
Are readings due on Thursdays? Are those due at like 11:59 p.m. or when?
I think I've said everything has to be submitted by 5. That's just logistical for me because like I need time to grade before I'm asleep. So yeah, I won't really give, unless you discuss like an excused absence with me, I probably won't go back and read the discussion forums after they're due, like after like midnight or the next day. I'll probably be done grading those by like 10 p.m. So if you're very late, you probably just lose the participation grade, right? I will do partial credit. So like if you do 2 things but not 3, that's better than doing nothing. Other questions? Or thoughts?
Can you give us an idea of what the project have been in the past?
That's the next thing, is talking about the projects. So that's terrific. Does anybody have a different kind of question before I go into that? Because that's going to be a pretty lengthy discussion. Okay, projects. The projects in the past have been everything from a proposal for a foot care clinic in a homeless community. That was pretty fun. But it was just like a project proposal. We created a line item budget, we created a staffing plan, we created a scheduling plan, we did a feasibility like investigation. Another thing we did was like a journalistic project on housing blight in Birmingham, where we actually created an activism guide, like a guide to activism on housing blight, in the form of a website. And the reason we did a website, certainly not because I'm great at things like that, but some of my students were, which was delightful. We have to consider accountability to the community that we're researching with, right? If we're working for a community partner, that means we're working for a community. Since this is a poverty studies course, we're working with communities affected by poverty. If I were to write an academic journal article, whose interests does that really serve? Like if the final product from our research was an academic journal article or an academic conference presentation, who is that useful for? Us, right? It's useful for me, I get a resume line, right? It's useful for you, it looks great on a curriculum vitae. Is it useful for the community we're serving? It is not. That is really, I mean, like, certainly some people in the community would be able to read and understand that and appreciate it. But what does it do for them, right? How is it useful? How is it beneficial? It's not. So we thought about accessibility. We thought about what would be easy to get in touch with, easy to relate to, and we chose a website. Other things we've done, we have attempted to write a federal grant for an environmental cleanup. That project, we bit off more than we could chew. It was too much for 6 undergraduates to do in a semester. We learned. But what we did was lay the foundation for the next grant cycle, right? We accessed a lot of information that already existed. We created some information that didn't exist. That is, we gathered some information that hadn't been gathered yet. The information existed in theory. And we laid the groundwork for a successful grant proposal the next year. So those are some things we've done, right? What we're going to be working on this year, in conversations with our community partners, I have discussed with them, and there's a survey about this up on Moodle already that I would love for you to participate in as soon as you feel led to do so. We're working with Church of the Reconciler, which is kind of a project with Church of the Reconciler called Community on the Rise, which is about helping people who experience homelessness and extreme poverty to thrive and advocate for themselves. So one thing that, if you imagine what it would be like to live in extreme poverty, what do you think a day would be like for a person living in extreme poverty? How do you think a person would emotionally experience a day in extreme poverty? Huh? It would be very exhausting. What kinds of things might happen to you in your daily life if you experience extreme poverty or homelessness? Tons of stress. So much stress, constant stress, no escape from the stress. What other kinds of things might happen to you, especially if you're experiencing homelessness? You might be hungry. You might be chronically hungry. It's not just hunger in your body, it's fear of not being able to find food ever, right? It's fear of when will I eat again, how will I feed my loved ones? Yes. What else might happen to you?
You might be attacked. There's a lot of violence against homeless.
Yes, there is. Who said that? Vari. Good job, Vari. Yeah. You could experience violence or harassment or hostility. And something that a lot of us in this room might understand is when you experience low-level hostility, it doesn't always stay low level, right? So low-level hostility can be very traumatic because you don't know where it's going to go. When someone catcalls you on the street or yells something at you, you don't know if it's going to stop there or if they're going to follow you or if they're going to hurt you, right? The same thing is true for the homeless. If they get yelled at, told to get a job, they don't know if that's where it's going to end or if that person is going to harm them, right? So low-level and high-level fear. All of this is traumatic, right? And if you are transitioning out of a situation of extreme poverty, which is the goal, right? You still have that fear, that trauma, and that suffering in your body and in your mind. It doesn't just go away because your circumstances improved, right? You still have that trauma. So what Church of the Reconciler is trying to do is work with people who have experienced homelessness and extreme poverty to heal from trauma, to understand trauma, heal from trauma, and develop strategies for moving past trauma. And so they want to do research and planning around creating a program to do just that. And that's something that they would like our help with. Another partner we are going to be working with is called the Poor People's Campaign. The Poor People's Campaign is a national nonprofit with an Alabama chapter. It was actually started by Martin Luther King and the Southern Christian Leadership Convention in the 60s. And what it does, if you've ever heard of like the March on Washington, led by Martin Luther King Jr. and company, that was the Poor People's Campaign. So what the Poor People's Campaign does is push for policy change. they push lawmakers, legislators, and public officials to make policy that's going to help people affected by poverty. What they want to do is, because of the changing kind of political climate, but also changing logistical climate, meaning we can't just go knock on legislators' doors anymore, right? We're all remote. They want to hold virtual town halls with policymakers. So they want to get policymakers to commit to meeting virtually with people affected by poverty, and listen to them and address their questions and concerns directly, with the end goal of affecting policy, right? That sounds easy, but if you think about, that sounds like all you have to do is get everybody in a Zoom meeting. That's not true. If you're a person affected by extreme poverty, have you probably ever thought about what you would say to a policymaker if you could? Maybe not. Maybe you totally have. Maybe you talk about it in the shower to yourself every morning, right? We all have shower arguments, right? Where we rehearse like what we want to say to somebody in the shower, where we like tell off our enemies. Yes. Just me? Okay. Maybe you have routine fantasies of telling off policymakers, but maybe you don't, right? Maybe you know what your concerns are, but you're not sure what policies are relevant to your concerns. Maybe you understand that these people have power and could help you, but you're not sure who is the right person to address or what to ask for specifically, right? Reverend Carolyn Foster with the For People's Campaign has expressed that part of what we might do as a group is interview constituents, interview people experiencing poverty, talk to them about their concerns, and then do research related to policy that relates to their concerns to help them prepare for these town halls. And we could even work on creating something like a policy guide, right? That could be useful for folks who are affected by poverty to help them talk to their lawmakers who are supposed to be accountable to them. So Carolyn Foster and Avery Rhodes from the Beloved Community, our Church of the Reconciler, will talk to you more about these projects and what they have in mind. But that's some foreshadowing. Does anyone immediately feel led toward one project or the other?
Well, I already follow the For People's Campaign with Dr. Barber, and so it's probably one of my low-key stresses that I can't be more active. So that's something I've been, so I do like the idea of working with policy because in the other class that I have to use is the research method. Part of what I want to learn is how to start researching and providing data
Yes.
to influence policy change.
That's terrific. Great. I like that you're connecting your two courses into an agenda. That's terrific. My New Year's resolution was to be more radical. My New Year's resolution was to be more activist this year. It's working. I'm getting there.
Maybe still.
Yep.
John Lewis, before he just passed, he was just saying that part of it is just not being fear, and once you get rid of all of the fear, you're able to do whatever you want to do. And I think for a lot of us, it's just overcoming fear. And we're still scared every day, if that makes sense, but baby steps into what I'm trying to do.
That's true. And also recognizing that systems exist to keep us paralyzed into inaction. We're not confused about what to do or where to intervene on accident. We're confused on purpose because powerful people like it that way. So that's in keeping with my New Year's resolution. Yes.
Either of them sound incredible, but I worked at GBM over the summer, and that's where Reverend Carolyn Foster worked, so I would love the chance to work with her again.
Okay, great. Yes. Wonderful. GBM stands for Greater Birmingham Ministries.
I know Lawrence worked there.
That's right. Actually, Kristen Harper gave me a heads up about both of y'all. So I didn't want to call you out, but she was like, hey, you've got 2 experts in your class. And I was like, super, I'm not going to make them responsible for more than other people.
I don't consider myself an expert by any means whatsoever, but.
Well, Kristen Harper does, so there's that. Anybody else feel led to one or another project? Maybe not yet. Maybe we want to read and hear more. I've provided a little blurb about each project, and we can expect to hear from Avery Rhodes on the 2nd of September and Carolyn Foster on the 9th of September. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll be hearing from both of these folks about what they have in mind for us. And by September 16th, I'll expect you to have chosen, right? Okay. So just to put that on, nobody likes surprises, I don't think. So just to put that on your radar, do some research on the Poor People's Campaign, do some research on trauma, and think about where your heart is. One of these is around direct action and kind of interpersonal healing and interpersonal intervention. And one is about policy change and solutions on a larger scale. Both are vitally important. You can't, affecting policy is great, but if what you have is a lot of policies that are friendly to people who are too traumatized and broken to survive and thrive, then the policy's no good. And you can create strong, resilient, healthy individuals, but if policy is keeping them down, what are they going to do, right? But be strong in isolation. So these 2 approaches are very different, but they're related, and they work in concert with each other. And both are vitally important. So you can't go wrong. What I will need is at least 4 or 5 people on each team. So maybe most of the class wants to do one project, and a small splinter group wants to do the other, and that's okay. Some of you may not have a clear preference and may think, all of this feels a little overwhelming to me, could someone just pick for me? That's an option on the survey. Yes, I will assign you if you don't have a preference. Have that in your minds, okay? We have 9 minutes left. I'm inclined to let people go because this has been a huge information dump. You have learned a lot today, I think. I appreciate everyone sharing and cooperation. So I'm really looking forward to working with each and every one of you and with all of you as a team. At 9:30 tomorrow morning, we will have a Teams meeting with Kristen Harper, who is our Director of Service Learning here at Birmingham Southern. And she will be talking to us about the nature of service learning and what service learning looks like at BSC. I don't care at all how you dress for the Teams meeting. I know some professors have policies. I do not. My only request is that you wear daytime clothes, not pajamas. I would like for you to wear daytime clothes, please. It can be a t-shirt, just like a daytime t-shirt. Nothing with like a sleepy penguin on it or something. Okay. If it's obviously jammies, don't do it. That's my only request. Just out of respect for our guest speaker who will be doing us a favor. Okay, 9:30, I will see you all on Teams. Did everyone get the Teams invitation already? Check your email because I sent it yesterday, okay? I will send a follow-up, but be on time. If you need help accessing Teams, let me know. And I am on campus for the next couple of hours if anybody needs to talk.